pa rin, Tatak City High.
Pleasant day, mathletes! Welcome to Mathematics 9 class. I will walk you through the simplest possible way of understanding today's lesson. Feel free to pause the video to jot down important concepts. For our first lesson, we will be discussing about quadratic equation, which is taken from Milk 1. Illustrates quadratic equations. Milk 2. Solve quadratic equations by subtracting square roots, factoring, completing the square, and using quadratic formula. What is quadratic equation? Quadratic equation in one variable is a mathematical sentence of degree 2 that can be written in standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a should not be equal to 0. Why do you think a must not be equal to 0? In the equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. If a is equal to 0, then the equation is linear, not quadratic, as there is no ax squared term. In the quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, ax squared is the quadratic term, bx is the linear term, and c is the constant term. Example: in the quadratic equation, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 is equal to 0, give the values of a, b, and c. So a is equal to 2, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to negative 3. Let's try this. Write the quadratic equation in standard form, then identify the values of a, b, and c. Number 1, we have 3x minus 2x squared is equal to 7. So applying the addition property of equality, we have negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 7 is equal to 7 minus 7. Then simplify, so we have negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. Then identify the value of a, b, and c. So we have a is equal to negative 2, b is equal to positive 3, and c is equal to negative 7. For number 2, we have x plus 3 times x minus 4 is equal to 0. So to write this one in standard form, we need to expand the equation using the FOIL method. So x times x is equal to x squared. X times negative 4 is equal to negative 4x. Then 3 times x is equal to positive 3x. And 3 times negative 4 is equal to negative 12 equal to 0. And then combined like terms. So we have negative 4x plus 3 is equal to negative x. Then the standard form is x squared minus x minus 12 is equal to 0. Then identify the value of a, b, and c. So a is equal to positive 1, b is negative 1, and c is negative 12. We have 4 methods in solving quadratic equation: subtracting square root, factoring, completing the square, and using quadratic formula. Solving quadratic equations by subtracting square root. So quadratic equations can be written in the form x squared is equal to k and can be solved by applying the following properties. If k is greater than 0, then x squared is equal to k has two real solutions. So x is equal to k and x is equal to negative k. If k is equal to 0, then x squared is equal to k has one real solution. X is equal to 0. If k is less than 0, then x squared is equal to k has no real solution. One thing to remember in this lesson that all quadratic equations should be written in standard form for us to solve or find the roots of the equations. Sample number 1. Find the solution of x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So x squared is equal to 16 by applying the addition property of equality. So since 16 is the value of k and 16 is greater than 0, then we have two solutions. Square root of x squared is equal to the square root of 16, applying the extracting square root. So now we have x is equal to positive and negative 4 solutions or the roots of your equation. So to check if x is equal to 4 and x is equal to negative 4 is true solution of your quadratic equation. So x is equal to 4, x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. You substitute the value of x to your equation. So 4 raised to 2 minus 16 is equal to 0. Then 16 is minus 16 is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. X is equal to negative 4. So substitute again. X squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So negative 4 squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So 16 minus 16 is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, x squared minus 16 is equal to 0 has two real solutions. X is equal to 4 and x is equal to negative 4. Example number 2. Find the solution of t squared is equal to 0. T squared is equal to 0. Since 0 is the value of k, the equation has only one solution. So t is equal to 0. So the value of t is equal to 0. To check, t squared is equal to 0. So 0 squared is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, t squared has only one solution, which is t is equal to 0. Example number 3. Find the solution of m squared plus 9 is equal to 0. M squared is equal to negative 9 by applying addition property of equality. Negative 9 is the value of k. Since negative 9 is less than 0, then there is no real numbers when squared gives negative 9. Therefore, m squared plus 9 is equal to 0 has no real solutions or roots. In solving quadratic equation, if one side of the quadratic equation can be factored in linear factors, then the equations can be solved by factoring. The zero product property of real numbers can be applied to solve the quadratic equation of this kind. So the zero product property for any real number a and b, if ab is equal to 0, then either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. To solve quadratic equations by factoring, the following procedure can be followed. Transform the quadratic equation into standard form if necessary. Factor the quadratic expression. Apply the zero product property by setting each factor of the quadratic expression equal to 0. Solve the resulting equations. 5. Check the values of the variable obtained by substituting each in the original equation. Solving quadratic equations by factoring. Example 1. Find the solution of the equation x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8. So x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8. We write this one in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So applying the addition property of equality, add both sides by positive 8. So we have x squared plus 9x plus 8 is equal to 0. Then factor. So the factor is x plus 1 times x plus 8 is equal to 0. Then, applying the zero product property, equate the two expression into 0. So, we have x plus 1 is equal to 0 and x plus 8 is equal to 0. Then, addition property of equality again. So, we have x plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 0 minus 1. Then, we have x is equal to negative 1. And x plus 8 minus 8 is equal to 0 minus 8. Then we have x is equal to negative 8. Then we need to check. So to check, we need to substitute the value of x to the original equation. X squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8. So negative 1 squared plus 9 times negative 1 is equal to negative 8. So 1 minus 9 is equal to negative 8. Then negative 8 is equal to negative 8. Correct. Then x is equal to negative 8. Substitute again to the original equation. So x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8. So negative 8 squared plus 9 times negative 8 is equal to negative 8. Then 64 minus 72 is equal to negative 8. Then negative 8 is equal to negative 8. And correct. Therefore, x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 8 has two real solutions, which is negative 1 and negative 8. What if the quadratic equation can be solved either by subtracting square roots or factoring? So another method of solving quadratic equation is by completing the squares. This method involves transforming the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c into the form of quantity of x minus h squared is equal to k, where k is greater than or equal to 0. To solve a quadratic equation ax squared plus bx equal to c by completing the square, the following steps can be followed. First, write the equation into standard form. Second, divide both sides of the equation by a to make the numerical coefficient of x squared equal to 1. Apply the addition property of equality to transfer the value of the constant term to the right side. Fourth, make the left side a perfect square trinomial by adding both sides by the formula the quantity b over 2 squared. Fifth, express the left side as square of binomial. 6. Subtract the square root to the both sides. 7. Solve the resulting equations. 8. Check the solution obtained to the original equation. Solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Example number 1. Find the solution of the equation 2x squared minus 8x minus 10 is equal to 0. Divide both sides by 2. Then, simplify. The resulting equation is x squared minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Then, addition property of equality, you add both sides by positive 5. So, we have x squared minus 4x minus 5 plus 5 is equal to 0 plus 5. Then, the resulting equation is x squared minus 4x is equal to 5. Then, add both sides by 4. Then simplify. The resulting equation is x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 9. Then express as a square of a binomial, we have the quantity x plus 2 squared is equal to 9. Quantity x plus 2 squared is equal to 9. By subtracting the square of a binomial, we have the square root of the quantity x minus 2 squared is equal to positive or negative 9. Then the resulting equation, by addition property of equality, we have x minus 2 is equal to positive or negative 3. Then we have x is equal to 2 plus or minus 3. Simplify. And then we have x is equal to 2 plus 3. X is equal to 5. And x is equal to 2 minus 3. X is equal to negative 1. Then check the two values of x if it satisfies your equation. So to check if the value of your x, positive 5 and negative 1, satisfy your equation, 2x squared minus 8x minus 10 is equal to 0. Substitute. So 2 times 5 squared is equal to 8 times 5 minus 10 is equal to 0. Then we have 50 minus 40 minus 10 is equal to 0. Then we have 50 minus 50 is equal to 0. 0 is equal to 0. Correct. Then x is equal to negative 1. Substitute again to the original equation. We have 2 times negative 1 squared minus 8 times negative 1 minus 10 is equal to 0. Then we have 2 plus 8 minus 10 is equal to 0. And 10 minus 10 is equal to 0. Then 0 is equal to 0. Correct. So therefore, 2x squared minus 8x minus 10 is equal to 0. has two real solutions, x is equal to 5 and x is equal to -1. So now, let us discuss the last method of solving quadratic equations by using quadratic formula. Though, the method of completing the squares can be applied to almost all forms of quadratic equations, problem arises if the values of a, b, or c are large numbers. In these cases, using quadratic formula is recommended. The quadratic formula is x is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. To solve any quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 using the quadratic formula, the following steps are followed. First, determine the values of a, b, and c. Second, substitute the value of a, b, and c in the equation. X is equal to -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Then simplify the result if possible. Fourth, check the solutions obtained to the original equation. Example, find the solutions of 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 27. So we need first to write the equation into standard form. Then by applying the addition property of equality, add both sides by -27. So we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 27 is equal to 0. Then, determine the value of a, b, and c. So a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to -27. Then substitute to the quadratic formula. X is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, using the value of a, b, and c, we need to substitute this one to the quadratic formula. So we have x is equal to -3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times -27 all over 2 times 2. Then we have x is equal to -3 plus or minus the square root of 9 times 216 over 4. Then, x is equal to -3 plus or minus the square root of 225 over 4. We have value of x is equal to -3 plus or minus 15, which is the square root of 225 over 4. So we have x is equal to -3 plus or minus 15 over 4. So let's solve for the values of x. So we have x is equal to -3 plus 15 over 4. Then we have 12 over 4. Then x is equal to 3. And we have x is equal to -3 minus 15 over 4. Then we have x is equal to -18 over 4. And x is equal to -9 over 2. So to check the value of x is equal to 3 and x is equal to -9 over 2, we need to substitute this one to the original equation, 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 27. So x is equal to 3. So 2 times 3 squared plus 3 times 3 is equal to 27. Then 18 plus 9 is equal to 27. Then we have 27 is equal to 27, correct. Then x is equal to -9 over 2. So 2 times -9 over 2 squared plus 3 times -9 over 2 is equal to 27. Then we have 2 times 81 over 4 plus 3 times -9 over 2 is equal to 27. So 81 over 2 minus 27 over 2 is equal to 27. Then 54 over 2 is equal to 27. Then 27 is equal to 27, correct. So therefore, 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 27 has two real solutions. X is equal to 3 and x is equal to -9 over 2. Before I end my discussion, let me share this to you. Never be afraid to try new things and make some mistakes. It's all part of life and learning. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone.